So very warm welcome to everyone, also from my side. My name is Inga Olnitsan, and I'm chair of the Human Brain Project's Dual Use Working Group. The aim of this webinar is provide introduction to dual use approach that we have developed in the Human Brain Project. And we will do this together with my colleague and co-chair of Dual Use Working Group, Manuel Guerrero. So dual use and misuse issues are among key societal topics for the Human Brain Project and also its follow-up eBrains infrastructure. So Human Brain Project is large EU-funded 10-year project which started in 2013 and which will end in 2023. And during past 8 years, the Human Brain Project that brings together neuroscientists, computer scientists, also includes large team of responsible research and innovation, bringing together social scientists and humanities researchers and practitioners. And this responsible research and innovation team has worked on a number of topics, and dual use and misuse issues are among these key topics. And they are also very closely related to other topics, such as, for example, Forest Site team, which anticipates potential uses of neuroscience and neurotechnology. Also, we draw on work and collaborate with public engagement team, which consulted citizens and stakeholders about their views on dual use of neurotechnology, and also team of neuroethics and philosophy research, who did a lot of reflection on concepts such as dual use and misuse. Before we start talking about dual use, a brief introduction, what do we mean by term dual use? Most emerging technologies, such as neurotechnology, artificial intelligence, robotics, computing, can have beneficial as well as harmful uses. And this is typically described by the term dual use. However, we also have to mention that dual use is contested and imprecise concept. Traditionally, it was typically focused on civil-military dichotomy that technologies developed for civilian purposes can also be used for military and vice versa. Recently, much broader understanding of dual use has emerged, which looks more broadly on different types of beneficial as well as harmful uses of new technologies. And this term dual use is also closely related to similar terms such as unintended use and misuse. There are many challenges when we work on dual use of technologies, and some of these challenges are related with difficulties to anticipate future uses of technologies. And an example is here a Collingridge dilemma, which is usually used to describe these challenges of anticipation. It is also known as dilemma of control, namely when technologies are at very early stages of their development, it is very difficult to predict how they will be used. However, later, when some problematic uses emerge, these technologies are already deeply embedded in society and economy, and it is very difficult to change and steer and adjust them. These challenges we also see when we work on neuroscience and neurotechnology, which is inherently a dual-use technology that can be used for beneficial purposes, such as, for example, health applications, new treatments, but it can also be used for harmful purposes. For example, misuse of sensitive research results for harmful political, military, or commercial purposes. What we see in past 10 years, that around the world, there are major investments made in neuroscience and neurotechnology, with these promises for new treatments. But we also see that these investments are made under very different framework conditions. And here are two typical examples. For example, major initiative in the United States, BRAIN initiative, is partly funded also by Defense Advanced Research Agency, DARPA, which has also explicit focus on developing neuroscience for military use. situation is very different in Europe. The Human Brain Project, which is funded by framework programs, initially by Framework Program 7, but mostly by Horizon 2020, has to comply with the framework program rules, which also implies regulations that requires that all research done within with funding received from framework program is with exclusive focus for civilian purposes, and military research is not allowed. So as all projects funded by framework programs, Human Brain Project has to comply with this regulation, and there is also some further guidance called dual use civilian applications are understood within framework program. So in framework program, they use this traditional understanding of dual use as a civilian and military dichotomy. So it is defined that dual use items are normally used for civilian purposes, but may have military applications as well. And this regulation also draws on EU export control regulation. And there is also some quite complex regulation around exclusive focus on civil applications that, for example, allows also participation of military partners, but only as far as it goes towards developing generic technologies and working on civilian applications. And another important concept that the framework program guidelines considers is the concept of misuse. And it invites to consider what would happen if your research results get in wrong hands, and how it can also be misused for unethical purposes and do also potential harm to humans, animals, or the environment. And these guidelines also provide some ideas and some suggestions how this misuse can be avoided or mitigated. So if this framework program rules applies to all research projects, then when we move more specifically to neuroethics and neuroscience and neurotechnology, then in recent years, we see also some more specific attention to misuse and dual use issues in this area. One example is International Brain Initiative, which brings together major brain initiatives from around the world. And they have published their neuroethics questions, which also include focus on potential misuse of neurotechnology applications. Another example is first international standard on responsible innovation in neurotechnology, which was published a couple of years ago by Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And this standard includes a number of principles related to inclusivity, related to public deliberation, and also very importantly includes a principle related to anticipating and monitoring potential unintended uses and misuses of technology, and suggests some of mechanisms and safeguards that can be used and developed to deal with these issues. As I mentioned, in our Human Brain Project, we have developed a dedicated approach to dealing with dual use and misuse issues. And key milestone in this work is our opinion on responsible dual use, which was published in 2018. This is one of 3 opinions developed by Human Brain Project's Responsible Research and Innovation team. First was on data protection and privacy, and another which was recently published is on artificial intelligence, trust and transparency. And as other opinions as well, also this opinion on responsible dual use draws on a lot of collaborative work within the Human Brain Project and also with external experts and stakeholders in doing research, engaging citizens, doing foresight, and developing relevant ideas and recommendations for dealing with dual use and misuse issues within neuroscience and neurotechnology. And this opinion presents a novel approach to dual use using responsible research and innovation framework. And it also goes beyond civil-military dichotomy and looks on these broader beneficial and harmful uses in a number of domains, such as political, intelligence, and commercial domains, and also start thinking how we can reflect on dual-use research of concern. Main motivation behind developing this opinion and doing this work on dual use is that advances in brain sciences allows and provides new opportunities to access, assess, and affect thought, emotion, and behavior. And this can be used for socially beneficial as well as harmful purposes. And to address this question, opinion suggests dual-use research of concern, looking on uses of neuroscience and neurotechnology, which are either directly of concern because of their potential for use in ways that threaten the peace, health, safety, security, and well-being of citizens, or are undertaken without responsible regard to such potential users. And then the question is, of course, how do we establish if some research might be of concern? And this opinion suggests that we use approach of responsible research and innovation, and also so-called area framework to reflect and think which kind of research might be of concern. So responsible research and innovation framework has been widely used during past 10 years in Europe. And in the Rome Declaration, it is defined as an ongoing process of aligning research and innovation to the values, needs, and expectations of society. And in Human Brain Project, we adopt this area framework, which relates to anticipation, reflection, engagement, and action, as these four very closely interlinked dimensions, to also think and reflect and engage with issues of dual use and misuse. And very importantly, when we talk about responsible research and innovation and also applied to dual use, this is not just about individual responsibility. This is more broadly about processes and practices and how do we develop structures and cultures which support responsible research and innovation. What is of concern? That still remains matter of debate. It's very seldom straightforward. And to facilitate this debate, what is of concern, we use this area framework of anticipation and engagement. And for that, in the Human Brain Project, dual use working group has been established, which brings together scientists from all over project, from different work packages, to think about these issues and also develop a culture and capacity to continuously reflect on these questions and also think how these questions can be addressed. And to summarize the HPP approach to dual use of concern and misuse, it is largely about dialogue rather than a checklist. So rather than closing debate and providing clear answers, it is about considering that there are questions and issues which are very difficult to anticipate. And so we have to be inclusive and we have to open debate and also we have to be responsive. So if you want to learn more about our approach to dual use research of concern, you can look at our dual use page and also at our publications, which will provide much more detailed information.